Hi YouTube, I just wanted to put together a quick video. Before we get started, have you guys subscribed to Hat Weird yet? I really think you should. He just put together a tribute to the lady in his life. It was awesome. I really enjoy his unboxings. I've laughed my butt off a couple of times. My favorite one was when he bought a slab Perth mint coin and it came in this holder that looked like you'd display a football jersey, and it was hysterical. And of course his blooper video, got me chuckling too. So he's got some really good stuff. He's trying to build up his channel. I know that a lot of you are subscribed to him, but for those of you that aren't, go check him out. I've really enjoyed watching his videos, and I think you will too. So when you put together a YouTube channel, in your mind you kind of run through different things that people are going to ask you, right? Should I buy silver? And I found that by the time people get to my little sliver of YouTube, they've already answered that question for themselves. What should I buy? Coins, bars, rounds. The questions run the gamut from new stackers. But by far, the number one question I get asked is, I've decided to start stacking. How do I sell my spouse on it? How do I sell my wife on it? And that's a tough one, right? When you consider that how few people in the country are using silver as an investment vehicle, the odds of somebody in your own house buying into it too are pretty slim, right? And you really have to be on the same financial page as your spouse, right? Your goals should really be aligned. It makes things a lot harder if it's not. My philosophy has always been that my relationship with my wife is literally the foundation of everything. Right? You can build the nicest house you want on a bad foundation and the house will crumble. You got to have a good, strong foundation. Another analogy I use is if your life is a sweater, she's the string that'll unravel it all. Okay? If you think stacking is hard now, get divorced and start paying child support. Then stacking will be really difficult. So this is really important that you make this work. So let me just tell you a little bit about my wife. You may be surprised to know that as far as goals and everything else, she's not interested. Not interested. Her life her view is literally day to day. Right? We have the 2 kids. It's a hectic life. It is. There's sports, there's dance, she has to take classes for her job, and her job involves little kids. And her whole life is all about little kids, and it's a day-to-day thing. She doesn't look for it at all. I've talked to her about goals before, what do you want out of this? And it's literally, I don't know, I need to get through today first. So basically, yeah, you could say that, we're the yin and yang, where, we complement each other, because I take care of the forward thinking, the goal setting and working towards retirement and all that other stuff. I literally take care of that all. But we've always had our finances combined. When we first met, we literally didn't have a penny, so it made sense, once we realized that we were going to be together, to combine our finances and just kind of go forward. I've always made more than her, so I've been very sensitive to not kind of holding that over her head or making her feel bad about it. So that's something that I've really attempted to do. So I remember when I decided to buy silver after that fateful plane trip, right? It was a few months later, because I really wasn't in a position to buy yet. I had to pay down debt. I was determined that before I bought my first silver ounce, I was going to have 0 debt. And by the time I got around to it, I sat her down. And at the time, Greece was in full swing, right? It seemed like Greece was crumbling, the euro was crumbling, and they were starting to talk about all the ripple effects that was going to have on the global economy. And I kind of sat her down and had her watch some of these news programs and said, look, this is why I'm going to start buying silver. This is why I'm actually going to start stacking silver. And it kind of registered with her. And so she kind of gave me the green light. Here's one of the problems. And you guys may run into this too. A lot of grown men are honestly kind of like just grown-up little boys, right? I remember when I was a kid, I was collecting Star Wars action figures. I was collecting Star Wars trading cards. I was collecting baseball cards. Then I was collecting, you know, the starting lineup action figures, the sports ones? I was collecting those. I was collecting comic books. Okay, I've always been a collector. My son has always been a collector. Everybody I knew was a collector of something. And now, you know, you may have a buddy that's into auto racing and he'll have all this auto racing memorabilia in his man cave, right? So we convince them that we want to start collecting or stacking silver, and then we start like buying a lot of these semi-numi stuff. We start, it almost looks like we're coin collecting. It almost looks like just yet another obsession, not really an investment. So, I mean, I completely understand that. And my other philosophy has always been, understand their point of view. See how you look through their eyes. You know, when I have my slave queens coming in the mail, you know, she's going to really kind of look at that and just kind of raise her eyebrow and say, wait a minute, you spent $800 on a roll of those or whatever it was, you know. Yeah, I did. You know, here's how I would approach it if I were you. To start, I would have her pick out a video or two. Okay, I think Chris Duane's stuff works really well. You've got to be careful, though, when you start having her watch videos, because lately, and I'm not sure what the new obsession is, but there's been a lot of precious metals videos that are focused on the Illuminati and how Lady Gaga and Beyonce and Kesha are somehow going to take over the world one catchy pop hook at a time. If you start showing her that stuff, she's going to think you're insane. I mean, in all honesty. And for those of you that believe in that stuff, fine. I mean, I get it. Actually, I don't get it. It's weird to me. You know, I can't see Kesha as part of some global conspiracy. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. So make sure that your spouse doesn't see that stuff, because honestly, they'll run screaming. But educate her. Find a good article. I would really recommend that Chris Martenson Madrid presentation. If that doesn't open up eyes, I don't know what will. He put that together so well. Show her how you've changed your spending. Show her how you've basically become a better person, if you will. I'm using air quotes, but how you've changed your spending to, you know, focus more on building wealth. I would sell her or him the insurance aspect of it. Okay? I think that's the big one, right? My wife has always been about protecting the family, protecting the kids. And that's one thing that I really sold to her is I said, look, we do have other assets. We have our 401k plan. We have our home equity. You know, we do have other assets. But what if things go south? And she saw it right along with me, 2008, it all goes away. It can go away very easily. So, you know, what I've kind of stressed to her is this doesn't go away. You know, this is a hard asset with intrinsic value, and the value will still be there. Okay? It may go down in dollar price. It certainly could in a deflationary environment. But, you know, its value will hold up relative to other things. So sell her the insurance aspect. Tell her what your long-term goal is. Say, look, my intention is to have 3,000 ounces. There will be times that I look like an obsessed fool trying to get that 3,000 ounces, but understand that once I get my lifetime goal, things will change a little bit. But right now, I feel like I'm trying to play beat the clock, just in case something bad does happen, so this is what I'm trying to do here. You know, maybe she'll see it differently there. Put the silver in terms of a percentage of your total assets. A lot of fund managers, believe it or not, will say that precious metals should be 10% of your portfolio. Now, they're probably usually talking about paper gold and paper silver, but so what? This is actually the hard stuff. Show her the percentage in dollar terms. Okay, if you have a home and if you have a 401k plan, in all honesty, there's a good chance that your silver stack is basically a small percentage. I mean, I feel like I love my silver stack. I feel like it's really finally getting there for me. But you know what? It's basically 10% of my investments. And because the reason for that is my 401k is getting up there and my home equity is getting up there. So as a percentage of our investments, silver actually looks kind of small. So I'm able to kind of sell that and say, look, I'd like to get silver up to, say, 30%. And, you know, that allows me to keep stacking hard. Don't force the issue or make her change her spending drastically. Otherwise, she'll simply resent it. and it will affect your relationship. There's no way that she'll look at silver in a positive light if you're yelling at her like a maniac to turn the thermostat down, or to, to not buy that pair of shoes, because that's just not going to work. You have to understand that, she's still going to want to be the person that she is, and she may work with you a little bit, but the odds of your spouse completely buying into an extremely frugal life is not great. In all honesty, you're going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting there. I give her allowance, and I'm very, not allowance like money. I give her rope to live her life the way she wants to. And lastly, if all else fails, then maybe separate finances could be could be the answer there, right? You guys kind of divide everything up. You have a community checkbook where you pay your bills and everything else, and then the spare money you use for silver. I guess that's the approach that I would take. Like I said, you don't want to force the issue. You don't want to be forceful about it, but it's just important that you educate them and go from there. And good luck. It's a big one, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. There are times where my wife raises her eyebrow a little bit. I'll bring that checkbook right down to the nitty-gritty, and I don't mind doing it. I have no problem walking that high wire, but every now and then she gets nervous about it. But I've also told her, look, I can liquidate some of the stuff very easily if push came to shove. So, in the meantime, she's seeing it grow, and I think that she's starting to see our silver stacking start to really bear fruit. It's getting up there, and I think she's finally starting to get it. So that's kind of how I talk to my wife about it. I'm curious how you approach it in your house, and hopefully some of those tips work for you. All right, guys, talk to you later.